Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving straight into something that literally runs your financial life, yet for so many of us, it feels like this totally mysterious, invisible force. Well, we're going to decode it right now and make it crystal clear.
So you might be wondering, why is it that some people just effortlessly snag the absolute best credit cards, or they lock in these insanely low interest rates, while others are out there constantly struggling just to get a basic loan approved? Honestly, it can kind of feel like a rigged game, right? Like some folks got a VIP fast pass and the rest of us are just stuck at the gate.
But here's the thing. It's not magic, and it's definitely not luck. It almost always boils down to a very specific range of numbers, 300 to 850. This single three-digit number tells lenders exactly how likely you are to pay back borrowed money. Literally everything pivots on where you land between those two numbers.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the financial report card. Second, why your score matters. Third, the anatomy of your score. Fourth, common credit mistakes. And finally, building better credit.
Right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the financial report card.
So what actually is a credit score? Well, think of it as a financial report card that shows your lending risk in real time. Just like you'd look at a business's track record before investing, banks and lenders are constantly grading your personal financial habits. They just want to know if they can trust you with their money.
And to do that, most scores use a standard tiered system. Basically, anything below 580 is categorized as poor. But once you cross that 670 threshold, boom, you're officially in good territory. And if you're hitting 800 or above, that is excellent credit. The main takeaway here is super simple. As you move up these tiers, lenders see you as way less risky, and that's how you unlock their absolute best terms.
Which brings us to Section 2, why your score matters.
You know, a lot of people think this number only matters if you're trying to get some fancy rewards credit card. But actually scratch that. It goes way, way beyond that. First off, a good score can literally save you thousands of dollars over your lifetime just in lower interest rates on mortgages and cars. But it also hits right at home. It factors into whether you can rent the apartment you want, it dictates your auto and home insurance rates, and depending on where you live, it could even be the deciding factor for landing certain jobs. This one invisible number impacts your whole livelihood.
Let's move on to Section 3, the anatomy of your score. So what actually builds this number up? Well, the absolute biggest factor, the heavy lifter, is your payment history. You absolutely have to pay your bills on time. Logically, if you look at it from a lender's perspective, paying every single month without fail, that's the ultimate proof that you're a reliable borrower.
The second massive piece of the puzzle is your credit utilization. Now, the golden rule here is to use less than 30% of your available credit. So if you've got a $1,000 limit, you want to keep that balance under $300. And honestly, pushing it under 10% is even better. It proves you have access to credit, but you aren't desperate to spend it all.
There are a few other moving parts you should know about too. The length of your credit history really matters, so you generally want to keep those older accounts open. It just shows you have a long, proven track record. Having a healthy mix of credit, like balancing a credit card with a car loan, also helps. And finally, try to avoid applying for a bunch of new accounts all at once. Look, I know how tempting it is to open a store card at the register to get that quick 20% discount, but doing that triggers what's called a hard inquiry, and unfortunately, too many of those can really sting and temporarily drop your score.
Okay, moving to Section 4, common credit mistakes.
There's a pretty clear line separating good habits from the mistakes that'll drag you down. We know paying on time and keeping old accounts open builds your score up. But things like maxing out your credit cards, that completely tanks that 30% utilization ratio we just talked about. Closing old accounts, that artificially chops down your credit history length. And please, don't ignore your credit report. If you aren't checking for errors, you could be getting penalized for a mistake you didn't even make.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 5, building better credit.
Let's look at a real-world example. Meet Sarah. She's starting out in the fair tier with a score of 620, but she makes a concrete game plan. She starts paying strictly on time. She slashes her credit utilization from 80% down to 20%, and she totally stops applying for new cards. Fast forward just 1 year, and her score crosses 700. That's a massive jump that instantly unlocks better loan terms and huge interest savings.
And honestly, that brings up the most reassuring truth in all of this. Yes, your credit score is one of the most important numbers in your financial life, but it is not permanent. If you're sitting on a lower score right now, Sarah's story proves that with a little patience and consistency, you absolutely can turn it around.
So how do we take action right now? Here's a quick checklist to jumpstart your credit health today. Step 1. Set up automatic payments or calendar alerts so you literally never miss a due date. Remember, payment history is everything. Step 2. Start actively paying down those credit card balances. Get that utilization well under 30%. And step 3. Check your credit report regularly and aggressively dispute any errors. Oh, and only apply for new credit when you absolutely need it. So we've broken down the mechanics, the pitfalls, and the exact steps you need to take. And now I want to leave you with this one question to think about. What small change will you make today? Building stellar credit definitely takes time, for sure. But making just one tiny adjustment today means your financial opportunities are going to be so much brighter tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer. Keep up those good habits, and I'll see you next time.